are live for Table Breaker, or not Table Breakers, my bad, Gatekeepers. And this episode of Gatekeepers is convincing your players to play less than what they might conceive as optimal characters. Tonight we are joined by Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division, Shadow&Son, and a special guest, Heathendog from Legion of Myth. Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Hello.
Awesome. Nice to have you with us, Heathen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, this is a topic that Heathen himself suggested to me on Discord. And with much thought, I was like, well, yeah, I definitely want to get this one in this year, as it was suggested this year. So, and we were kind of chatting before the stream kicked off, and I get the impression that the way things used to be done is much different than the way things are done for like 3.5 and onward. Mostly with like the stats and such. That I was mostly unaware of the just roll 3d6 down the line method. I cannot say I've actually ever played that way. So let's go over, well, the first topic. What are the pros to less than optimal characters at your table? Tonight, I'm going to have Heathen start because, well, it's his topic. And, yeah.
All right, here you go. Pros. I have had the most fun and the most memorable characters that I've had at least one. I'm not even going to say suboptimal. I'm going to say bad. Just bad stat. Now this is both on if it was a point generated character where you have a pool of points and you assign points to get your own stats, you make it yourself. I made one a 4 because I wanted to make it a 4. I felt it was more important to have points everywhere else. I wanted this 4 here and I role played that 4. It was a 4 in strength. Now, I was a spellcaster, so it wasn't super important, but it was important to role play that 4 because it had to be a detriment. So what I did was whenever, every once in a while, I would purposely overfill my backpack by like 2 pounds, and everyone would see me just trying to muscle my way up a hill, just every once in a while. I would do that. As a player character, you can make sure you're not encumbered. You can plan ahead for this stuff. You can make sure that you are not getting in a wrestling contest in a bar. You can handle that. All of this can get around. That 4 is there to role play. That 4 is meant to make the experience memorable. Another one I had was at the Cthulhu Masters tournament in Gen Con. I had a character with a supremely low IQ. It was given to me. I didn't roll it. It was a convention. It was just giving me a character. Here, play this character. I'm like, okay. This was the semifinals. I'm like, all right. And his name was Bobby. And he was retarded. That's the only thing you can have, because his IQ was in the point where no, he's special. So every once in a while, I would, something bad would happen, and I would say, man, that always happens to Bobby. Whether it happened to me or not, I would say that always happens to Bobby. It's like, that nothing happened to you. Oh, sorry. You yelled at me. That always happens to Bobby. I would keep doing that until they let it go, and then I would stop. And I'd wait like 20 minutes, and then something would happen. I'd say it again. I would role play it that way just to have fun. And at the end of it, people were laughing, and they would say it before I could say it. Yeah, I know. It happens to Bobby. And everyone had fun. So, when you role play a low stat, it doesn't mean that it has to affect your gameplay. It doesn't have to, because you are not your character. You can think around it and get reasons why. No, I'll just come at this from a different angle. I don't need to pick the lock. I can kick it down, or I don't need to kick the lock. I can pick it. You can always make that choice as a player, but as a character, you have to role play that deficiency every once in a while, not all the time, every once in a while. and it will make a memorable character. And if you do it right, everyone on the table is going to have fun.
All right.
That's our opening salvo.
Awesome. Shadow. What are some of the pros of playing less than optimal characters at your table?
Well, something Heathen touched on. I see it as a way to actually accentuate or enhance your actual role playing and immersion. You can so easily get, stuck in that, superheroic mode of character when you've got, a couple of 16, 17s or even an 18. You could just, fall back on those to solve all your problems, all your issues. There's an incredibly famous character in literature, Elric of Melbourne. I'm probably butchering the name. Everybody pronounces it different. But he was, I look at him as a multi-class elf, emperor of a kingdom who had like a 3 or a 6 in strength and con. He had to take potions and herbs just to be able to get out of bed practically. But he went on a 5-6 book, more or less, epic saga where, he, until he got his sword that fixed all that, he had to rely on these potions and these herbs and things just to be able to, like I said, function as a normal, individual. And having, one or more stats that are really low like that allow you to, like Heathen said, really play into your weakness as opposed to your strength in the way of getting more in touch with your character instead of your character sheet.
Character and not character sheet. That's a good one. I like that. I'm stealing that.
It's not mine. It's not mine. It's an antique, so be careful with it.
Oh, okay.
But what about you, Bruce?
There's an entire game I used to run, and I take great inspiration from in the game I'm crafting, because 4th edition Hackmaster believes in 3 dice 6 as they fall. No arrangements, no 4 dice 6 drop low. It's just you and your 3 dice 6. And it's meant to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's meant to make you a better player, because you're not going to get an optimized character. You're going to get a character that you got to figure out how to make them work.
Yeah, and you may not even be able to play the class you want to play.
Tough shit.
Yeah.
I know. I wanted to be an astronaut. Look where I'm at. I'm bumping shit for a living.
Well, Billy, you're too dumb for an astronaut. Try again. Sanitation engineered. Billy,
deal with
good
what
job.
you got, Billy. It's just I think it makes you a better player. I mean, there's everybody I know that likes 3.5 and Pathfinder because,
well, if I do this Lego character, I can have this build and I can do all the things and win by level 7.
And it's just like, you got a little dick.
Oh, come on now. There's no need to go there.
No,
That's
I'm
below the
fucking
belt.
serious. Like, I hate watching people, whenever I let them have, okay, guys, here's your options. We're running this game system. Go for it. And all of a sudden, like, all the munchkins emerge out of these guys like Quaid off a fucking Total Recall, and they ruin my fucking game.
Okay.
They ruined the idea that I had. So now I'm like, here, you have the core rulebook and 4 dice 6, drop low, not as they fall, range as desired. But I really like the 3 dice 6 as they fall because it forces you to operate within your boundaries.
Well,
and you actually become a better player for that.
Yeah, but how do you convince the player that it's going to help them? How do you?
It's my table or the door.
What's that?
It's either you play or you go somewhere else. I'm not conceding.
Okay,
this is not a democracy.
One-arm tactic. All right, that's a way to go.
That's how Hackmaster is, and I really love that mentality. I really do. It almost, that game does actually foster a you versus a dungeon master mindset.
Okay,
you don't have to go that far.
We don't want to go there.
You don't want to go that far, but you do want to have the group functioning as a team, because it makes the players rely on each other, because Timmy no longer has 2 17s and he's a paladin. No.
Hey now.
I'm saying, Shadow, that it forces the party to work together.
Okay. I see where you're going with this. So you're saying a pro to having suboptimal stats is that it actually forces the party to shore up each other's shortcomings, to rely on each other more. That way they work more as a group.
Exactly.
Okay, that is completely fair. I respect it. That's awesome.
That's actually what I was going to say on that topic as well. Is if your own character has deficiencies in specific areas, whatever the case might be, you are reliant upon your fellow party members to fill those deficiencies. Not every person should be able to pick a lock. I mean, I know that was the case at some point that any character could pick a lock, any character could open a door. But if you have a character who is a master locksmith, then that is what they do. That is the role they fill in the party. So I don't want to see my cleric trying to, bust out a lock picking set and try to pick a lock unless he's a cleric of Ali Damara, or some other rogue god. So I agree with that, if you have deficiencies in the party, let other people play to their strengths and you play to yours. And play up your weaknesses occasionally, as Heathen said, because it can lead to good role play.
Right.
So I'm going to get
Scott
to some.
Clark has a couple of questions. First
one,
I'm
going to get to those.
Does a low stat make something suboptimal? According to many players, yes. And what does suboptimal mean? Suboptimal is, in my definition, anything that gives you a minus in gameplay, a detriment to the rolling, to the actual gameplay itself. Now, a lot of players will say, well, anything that doesn't give me a bonus is suboptimal. And I don't even want to address that. I mean, that is too far gone. I don't even want to address that. But and then Scott Clark is reacting to Bruce. How does a character ruin your game?
A character doesn't ruin the game.
Players ruin games. Characters don't ruin games. Players, there's only two ways to ruin a game. Bad dungeon master and a bad player. That's it.
Because you can always kill a character.
Yeah, you can always kill off a character and make a new one. The character's not the problem. It's the player. Now, if you have a player in the mindset of, well, if I have an 8 or a 7, I get a -1 to something, I'm not playing it. That's a bad player. It's a -1 that comes up once in a while. That is definitely not in your quote unquote wheelhouse of abilities, because you were definitely not going to choose a class that focuses on that 7. So it's not
be a bard.
Yeah, it's not something that's going to affect you all the time. It's only going to affect you sometimes, and you can't handle that. That's a bad player, and the player can ruin that game.
I can definitely say that I've been in those shoes when I was a much younger person. I was a really shit player because I didn't want to have any of my stats below a 10. Oh. I was a shit player. I'll tell you that right now. I was a power gamer. Yeah. And I'm slowly like kicking myself in the ass for all the years I did that, because that to me anymore is, I think, the wrong way to play. Because you can have your uber powerful builds and everything, sure, but what's the challenge?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. You want to have a challenge at the table for you. You can't be going through the game like a fucking Ray Palpatine. I can succeed at anything. Fuck you.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect of another pro to having less than optimized or less than optimal characters is things are actually a challenge that are appropriate to your level or appropriate to your group's abilities.
Right. If you have stats that are all of them giving you bonuses, then you're not really level 1. You were never really level 1. And Shadow&Son has something.
I can. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I had one I wanted to clarify. Jade, in the old days, you could try something regardless of what, race, profession, class, whatever you were. But the odds, if you weren't like let's take the lockpicking example.
Yeah.
you basically just guarantee you can spring the trap and really almost never actually succeed. Other things like just kicking down a door, that might be just a stat based thing, but some of the more class specific things that really wasn't that easy to accomplish. And I wanted to ask Heathen,
Yeah.
do you have a copy of Beyond the Supernatural First Edition?
First edition? No. Wait,
Okay.
hang on. Belay that. I think I do.
Is this a topic?
He's probably going somewhere with this.
Yeah, I actually am. Sometimes I actually do go somewhere.
No, I don't. I have first edition Palladium Fantasy. I don't have Beyond the Supernatural first edition.
Okay. And I recommend you get it, or maybe I can photocopy these 4 sheets that were in first edition, because first edition is actually a lot of fun. But it had this thing called victim games.
Okay.
Okay. And you can maybe see where I'm going, because you're playing a horror game.
Yeah.
So you're playing basically in a victim game. You're playing those teenagers from the sleepaway camp or whatever. Right. And
Jason,
your
Freddy,
stats
all that stuff.
All your stats are going to be like 12 if you're lucky. Okay. You're running regular people, nothing even remotely heroic about them, so that you're playing, maybe a one shot, or maybe you're going to start a, Kids on Bikes kind of campaign before Kids on Bikes was a thing. Right. So you're playing these people that are, teenagers, kids, old people that are stuck in a situation that is beyond anything they could ever cope with. And your goal is just to be like the last guy alive at the end of the, alien movie or what have you. So there's another reason, to play characters that aren't, the superhero, to play the regular Joes or worse, the people that just shouldn't be there, even what was her name in Halloween? Jimmy the Cursed character. I can't remember her name, the character's name, and I just watched the last one. She had maybe one high stat, which was intelligence. Everything else was like 6 across the board. Right. And maybe or maybe physical beauty, because she was cute. She was. That's all I'm giving.
Jamie the Curse is what in the day she's pretty hot. I mean, get right down to it. But no, I get it. That is a good way to get the players to play characters that aren't awesome out of the gate, because the whole idea is it's not like you trained for years to be a fighter or a wizard or a sorcerer or a priest. No, this stuff is just happening to you. You didn't choose this life. It chose you, and you were not ready.
Bilbo's another great example.
Yeah, I can get with that. That is a good way to go.
Violence. Whenever we were discussing, the first thing out the gate I said is that people forget about Hackmaster 4th Edition, but the way that game is that you're supposed to roll 3 dice 6 as they fall, and you accept the character that you get. If you're able, if you're good, if you are a decent player, you're going to figure a way around the things that are around you, and you are going to become really good at what class you are able to partake in. The thing is that the DMG for Hackmaster 4E, they talk about the god and the wuss. The god is this prick character that he miraculously rolls 18s down with 3 dice 6. And then you have the wuss character that they don't have a single thing maybe above a 10. But if the person plays the character smart, if they play within the boundaries that they've been given, they're going to more than likely succeed where others would just throw their hands in the air. Meanwhile, the player with the godlike character is going to have people rubbing off on them the whole time, trying to dick ride and trying to just, cheese their way through life because, hey, Billy, the Holy Knight, is here with us, and he's got straight 18s all the way down the 6 stats. We're going to be fine. And the entire time, you're never really getting to learn how to play. You're just rolling die and adding bonuses like some little munchkin.
There you go.
Winning the game.
Bruce has the next problem with allowing this mentality of low stats are bad, is that you get lazy players.
Well, let's move on to the next question. What are some of the well, as you already stated, what are some of the cons of less than optimal characters?
Okay.
You know, how is having these less than optimal characters getting in the way of playing the game? Bruce, I'm going to start with you on this one.
The less than optimal players can actually be challenged by something you pull out vanilla from a monster manual or from a bestiary. They can actually, at their level, find one of said monsters to be a challenge. And if you're a dungeon master and you allow that monster to do what it's supposed to do, and you don't try to superimpose its abilities or fudge die rolls or say, well, he actually has these 6 feats or these 7 special abilities instead, just because you want to kill a character because it's weak. But instead, you let the players actually have an encounter to where their character's limits are tested. And they, as a player, will have to play within the boundaries. And if they can outwit the situation, they will. Maybe it will come down to lucky dice. But more than likely, a lot of players would rather have a situation to where they don't overpower something or they magic missile it to death. They would rather actually use something. I mean, I gotta hate bringing up Return of the Jedi, but think about the Ewoks versus the speeder, the Imperial speeder guys. Those Ewoks were not cool characters.
No,
they were wimps.
Yep.
But they used guile, and they had the trips. They had the traps that they were able to fasten, and they had the terrain to their advantage. And it really was a bad statement about Vietnam if you look at it like that. But
okay, well, hang on, we're not going to go there.
But I'm saying
you're getting into pros. You're getting into pros now. With your examples, the con would be that a player would if the player is used to not having a character with any low stats, and they have character with low stats, and they hit the first obstacle, they're more likely to quit. They're more likely to shut down.
They're more likely to just throw their hands in the air.
Exactly.
Because they don't feel.
Well, obviously, I can't do this. I'm too stupid, or I'm too clumsy, or I'm too weak. You know, they won't because they didn't grow up with the whole you know, you don't start off as super powered. You start off as a normal dude and you train yourself to be super powered. So early on, you have to think of ways around things.
Correct.
But they don't. So they have a tendency to quit. Not like quit the game and like toss the table and walk away. No, I'm not talking that. I'm just talking like their brain will shut down and they'll hit, oh, I can't do it. I'm done. And they will not be helpful for the rest of the day to the rest of the group. They will mentally check out.
Yeah.
That is a con of a situation like what Bruce was saying.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But no, I think the suboptimal character that if you don't have a person used to it, exactly what Heathendog said.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things as well that can happen, but you'll have to push them through time, and you really have to get rid of the battle mat. That's if you're running suboptimal characters, you don't really want to bring a battle mat out. You can bring the figures out and have them just kind of center stage and show them off, but don't bring up monsters and such until there's actually like an encounter.
No, I
don't want to bring into a tactical game to where it turns into an arcade game.
Exactly. Because the more tactical game, the more tactical the game is, the more the numbers matter in their minds.
Yeah. And
the more the numbers matter. So if you keep it more theater of the mind for as long as possible, then you're opening their minds. Maybe anything's possible. You know, like I'm not constrained by the numbers. I'm about 3 hexes away. I can make it. Can I make it? Yeah, you're about to. Yeah, you're good. All right. You know, then it'll get the creative juices flowing. I get it. That is a good call. I like that call. Shadow&Son.
Okay, well, right off the
bad thing.
Okay, this is a really bad thing.
Okay.
Let me clarify real quick. Are we talking like a whole party or just one player?
We'll take it one player at a time.
Okay. Death. Just
death.
You start out with really crappy numbers. You can die, especially in games like first and second AD&D.
Oh yeah.
If you take 50% of your hit points in one hit, you're making a percentile roll to see if you just die. That's not even taken. Yep. That's not even taken. Well, I had 8 hit points. Well, you took 4. Roll percent. Oh shit! I rolled 98. Okay, well you're dead.
Yeah.
So what's the point of having hit points? Okay. Or
that's fair.
Or if you have a party, boom, the entire party's wiped because of low numbers. Okay. In which case, you're just going to end up, okay, we're all rolling up brand new characters because we all died in the first room of the first actual dungeon we went into. Boom. Okay, well, maybe, your players are going to be like, is this what it's always going to be like? And you're like, well, if we're playing first and second, yeah. Sorry, them's the breaks. Especially if you actually have to roll your hit points. You roll one hit point.
Yeah. Exactly.
You roll
that one, well, you're just boned. Yeah.
You're just dead. Yeah, you can't even
quick
get
hide
into
behind
combat.
the pile of dead bards.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
No,
right.
Now that is a con. You're absolutely right. But I think of it as a really good learning experience as long as it only happens once. The reason being is because a lot of players nowadays don't understand. They can't grasp the idea, the simple fact they can run away. They don't get it. They never try to run away. Oh my God. Bob got one-shotted. He's the fighter. I'm a wizard. He's a bard. He's a thief. We're fucked. We're leaving. What about Bob's body? What about Bob's body? I don't fucking care about Bob's body.
I'm not carrying it. There's one other aspect of that as well. With the suboptimal characters, DMs could easily fall into the trap of being big old Care Bears. And, you only took 1 point of damage. Oh, you only took 2 points of damage. You're fighting, whatever. And the DM's like, well, I don't want to wipe you guys, in the first room. So I'm going to go soft on you. And, it won't take long before the players are realizing he's rolling D8s for damage and only rolling 1s and 2s over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
it's a really nasty trap to fall into.
Exactly. Yeah. Your players lose respect for you because you're lying to them. Even though you're lying to help them, you're still lying, and they know it, and they feel like you're holding their hand the entire time. Scott Clark,
I can agree with that statement. I've been in some of his games, and some of the things we've battled. Oh my goodness! Like there was no way we would ever be able to succeed. Oh yeah. All right, Heathen. Any other drawbacks to this?
The drawback to playing a character with a low stat, suboptimal, meaning gameplay minuses. I'm trying to think of some. Okay, how about this? In certain situations, players can get demoralized. I mean, you always come up to certain things, like everyone make a save versus poison, or everyone make a Constitution save for nausea, or everyone make a wisdom save, because you're about to be glamored or something like that. Whatever the case may be, and that's your weak stat. You're like, oh, I knew it was gonna hit. I knew it was gonna bite me in the ass someday. Mm-hmm. And they don't finish that thought. Someday always happens. It's not every day. It's just someday. This is that someday. Broken clock is right twice a day. Well, this is your broken clock moment. It happens. But they don't finish. They don't complete the thought process to get to that point. They just hit oh crap, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. Well, dude, everything happens. But a lot of players will stop at that point and just shut down. And as a game master, the last thing you want, the players are mad at you. Great. They're engaged. The players are happy with you. Great. They're having fun. The players shut down. That's the worst feeling ever. As a game master, if the player is sitting there and just phoning it in, giving up, you feel like you failed. And that can demoralize a game master right there. He sees it, the glassy eyes in the player. He's checked out.
You know what pisses me off is when, like, there was a campaign I ran 10 years ago, and at the time, Connell's wife, she had a character, and there was a basilisk that popped out of the jungle, and I popped the fortitude save. Everybody roll over this. If you don't, you turn to stone. She turned to stone. She was one of the 2 people that was out of the fight, first round of combat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even, like, talk to her. She was pissed off at me for having this happen. And I'm like, you guys saw the tracks. You saw what was going on. You saw the statues. I'm sorry for you, but I thought I gave you hints as to what was going on.
Yeah, you walked into a burning building. What do you think was going to happen?
Yeah. And then you got upset with me because your character, who has no fortitude save, tried rolling a d20, DC 14 or 17. It wasn't super high. It was a 7th level challenge. But she still turned to stone on us. And I felt kind of bad for her, but not so bad. We're like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter if the fight we get you back. No. You got to pay the piper. Somebody has to cast that spell on you, or somebody has to lug your statue around, one of the 2. And that really pissed her off. So her and her husband had to leave my table for the night.
Wow, really? You had a rage quit?
She rage quit, and it whenever he talks fondly about her, I remember that night, and I'm like, yeah.
I don't think of your wife as fondly. Violet says, ever since D&D 3E was released, I only heard suboptimal used to refer to a race class combinations that were not the best because, okay, see, players like this are confusing suboptimal with min-max. All right. What he's really talking about is min-max. Oh, you have to have the right feats, the right class, the right race, and the right stats. You put them all together and converge, and we all form Voltron. You know, that's what they're saying. That's min-max, right? Suboptimal is
have
not
this Azimar for my paladin. That way, I start the game at 0 level with a 20 charisma.
Yeah.
So thinking of that, I'm actually hopefully soon getting ready to play in a game where I'm playing a paladin, and I'm playing a elf paladin. It's a 3.5 game, but Azimar was an option for me if I wanted to go that route. I chose not to go the Azimar route because I wanted a more flavorful character than, I just have the best race, best class combo pack. I also didn't choose the best because it's also Gestalt. So, for those who really hate high power games, this is definitely not for you. So Gestalt is you take the best of both of 2 different classes and you make one class out of it.
Jesus Christ, man.
Right. But I'm going the opposite direction of that. I'm not choosing like the best class to pair with Paladin on purpose. You're not
going the opposite direction. You're just going straight. You're not going off into the left or right.
Right. I'm not going to go this is the best optimized build. No, I'm going a different direction because the character is a war veteran because, he's an elf. He's 200 or 300 years old. He was in the last war. He's a war veteran. He's going to have war veteran classes. So he's a martial paladin. So he's going to be focused on having the other players do things on his turn instead of him doing things on his turn. Like that is the build palette, or the design palette is I'm building a more support character than I am a frontlines fighter. Is it optimized? Not to the nines. No. Do I have like the highest stat block? No. It was a point buy system. Could I have had an 18 or a 20 in a stat? Yeah, I could have. I chose not to. Because I'm building more, or I'm designing more for flavor than I am for like optimized. This character will be the end all be all. Because I think designing for flavor is going to pay off more for role-playing aspects than it is for power aspect or battle aspect, because I'm not going to be focused on the battle.
That actually opens this up to to another problem that is not exactly, low stats, but is in the same genre, which is players who map out their character from level 1 to 20 before day 1. Fuck all of you.
Yeah, well, I used to do that. I don't do that anymore.
All right, life doesn't work that way. Okay,
Right.
when you're level 1, you were taught the basics. You were taught, if you're a fighter, you're taught how to parry, thrust, dodge, and read some terrain, and generalize the number of enemy forces, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Go out and experience life. Your experiences will dictate how you grow. You can't plan that from level 1 to level 20 before you start day 1. You can't do that. It's like, no, it doesn't follow my career path. Get out of my fucking table.
See, yeah, what are you, a mother hen?
What's that?
What are you, a mother hen? Planning out your child's life,
Exactly.
long after
Helicopter
you're dead?
Mom. Yeah, you're a helicopter mom to your goddamn character. Stop it. Stop it. Your character is going to learn through experience. The experience is going to change him. That's how you grow. That's how you choose. That's why you choose every time you go up a level. You look at what you need, what you should have had at the level before that would have helped you, and how the trajectory of the story is going, what you might need in the future. That is what is going to make you an optimal character. Building yourself for the campaign that's unfolding in front of you, not the idea of being numbers perfect. Numbers perfect will never match someone who is building his character for the campaign that's happening. He's always going to be better.
Sorry, I would literally, as a DM, be tempted to do everything I could to keep my players from doing that. If I found out that they were doing that, thank God I don't play anything but past second edition when it comes to fantasy. I would go out of my way to ruin their plans. Oh, you wanted to do this? Oh, well, sorry, there's nobody to train you, or whatever it took to make sure that never fucking happened.
Oh, that's
May I interject here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
No.
I used to do this actually quite a bit. I would actually plan my characters out for like 40, 50, 60 levels, even beyond the scope of the game. I used to do that. And I used to have everything, pre-mapped out of, what kind of feats I would take, what spells I would already have preloaded, so that, and it was all on like Google character sheet or Google Excel sheets, so that when we ticked over for the experience and we were told you may now level up, I hit the level up button, or I just clicked a one little icon, and it changed everything on the page for me. I didn't have to go sift through books or anything. It was done and ready for play. Now, I did make alterations as I went in those games. I did decide, hey, that prestige class that I was really aiming for does not fit the mold of this game. I'm going to throw that out the window and replace it with something that fits better.
Okay.
But I would also take a copy of the character and rework the entirety of it with that new class and those new abilities.
Okay. See, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. I mean, you're going to be the first one dumb come level your character time. That's great, and you are mapping it out, which is bad. But you're allowing yourself leeway and forks in the road, which is good. Now, what you're doing though is you're spending 3 times the amount of work that all the other players are just planning your character. I mean, how much more money could you have made if you were in a side hustle for those several hours a day that you were thinking about your character when you didn't have to?
I at that point in time, I wasn't married and I didn't have much of a life. So that was my life, was just designing characters. Okay, I would design like 10, 15, 16 of them.
You could have been running a landscaping business and be a millionaire now.
Probably. So let's get back onto track. I think I've tangented enough. Let's get into character creation. So this is what limits do you put in place at the time of character creation to influence your players to make less than optimized characters? Now, my definition of less than optimized is not necessarily the same as yours. It's not just about the stats being into the negatives. Sometimes it's about not the the perfect combinations, not having things line up exactly right, or putting limits on like what the characters can choose as backgrounds or professions or whatever else the case might be. Things that aren't necessarily battle oriented.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go first. I have three ways to do this. These are the three most common things I do to make sure that players are playing well-rounded characters. They call it suboptimal. I call it well-rounded. One, if rolling for stats is a thing, there is always the most severe way to roll stats. It's usually option number 1. And in D&D, it's usually 3d6 down the line. Now, that doesn't work with all situations. It doesn't, because you go to number 2, class based. Now, what I do is if there, let's say there's 5 people in a party, okay, in your playing group there are 5 people, 5 players, and I say you need at least 1 man at arms, you need at least 1 spellcaster, you need at least 1 support class. And someone says, "Ooh, I want to be a fighter. I want to be a fighter too." Well, I want to be a fighter 3. No. Hang on. 3 fighters not going to work out. All right. You gotta choose either a support class or a spellcaster or whatever. Come on. And so I will allow them to roll 3d6, but move stats around so they will qualify for the class that they want. So that's fair. Completely fine. I'll let you move it around. You keep the same numbers, but move them around so you can play either what you want to play or what you need to play to round out the party. Well, I don't want to play a bard. Well, don't play a bard. Play a thief. Play a cleric. Nobody wants to play. Yeah, exactly right. But play a thief. Play a cleric. Well, I don't want to play that. I only want to play a fighter. Well, you need to broaden your horizons a little bit. Try 5 levels of a thief. Try 5 levels of a cleric. Try 5 levels of, if you're playing first edition, acrobat. Whatever. Try it. See how it fits. You might like it. You're forcing them. You're kind of forcing them a little bit in this way, but most of the time, people thank you for it at the end. So, but and the third way is give a little bit of leeway, but still make it straight down the line. No moving attributes around. The little bit of leeway in second edition Dungeons & Dragons was option number 2. It was roll 4d6, drop the lowest d6. That's your stat. Makes you a little more powerful, but also opens up a lot more options for classes without overpowering your character. You're going to have some bad stats. It's going to happen. You're going to roll a 1, 1, 3, 4. So you're going to have an 8. You're going to have a 7. It's going to happen, but you're not going to have a lot of them. And you're going to be able to qualify for at least 2 character classes, at least 2. Remember, in second edition, you only need 9s to qualify. You need a 9. That's it. Unless you want to be a paladin, and you guys got to roll lucky because you have to have 3 high stats, 16, 17, 17, or 16, 17, something like that. I forget. I never played a paladin because, goody little two shoes. I don't do that. But yeah, so those were specialty classes that if the gods of dice were looking fondly upon you, then you can play a paladin. But if the group needed a paladin or my story required a paladin, someone could play a paladin. They would roll all the stats except for those, and I would give them the minimum required to make it. They would get a 16, 17, 17, or 16, 17, 18, or whatever it was. They would get that, but the minimum required to make it. Plus, that minimum is pretty high. I mean, come on, that's pretty high. But yeah, so those 3 techniques that I use to get people to play outside of their comfort zone, to play a suboptimal character or a character they didn't think of before, because it will help them grow as a player, give them more tools in their toolbox to be able to think outside of themselves, to adapt to a different situation, because they have to have a different point of view. You're not coming at this as a fighter, you're coming at this as a thief. You got to come at it differently. You're not coming at this as a wizard, you're coming at it as a cleric. You got to think at it differently. And that will help them in every game that comes after mine. It'll make them better players.
What about you, Shadow? Any limitations you place on players creating their characters?
Well, here's the thing. For the most part, I don't play anything like 3 point whatever on up. So most of those issues don't really come into play. I play Palladium, not really an issue other than the stats. Now, if someone's going to whine about the stats, Heathendog can back me up. There are innumerable skills you can take along your character's path that will boost those up, unless you absolutely can't live without a physical beauty of 18, in which case, shut up, Karen.
Yeah. Female privilege my ass. Get out of here.
Right.
Get out of here,
games like Traveler and any of the other hundreds of games I've got behind me, they just don't do that. It's really all a thing that came about with 3rd edition on up in the fantasy genre. I'm not so certain about some of the other newer games in fantasy editions. I mean, science fiction that allow you to do this. Most science fiction games really are pretty, down and dirty and gritty. You get your numbers and you're happy as shit just to be there. There is none of this, life, building a character, the Lego thing. That's just not a thing in any sci-fi game I've come across. And the newer fantasy games don't appeal to me because I've got 50 fantasy games behind me I'm never going to get to play. So buying a new fantasy game is like, why? What's wrong with this one? This one right here, served the entire planet for decades. And now because a new shiny thing came out, it's better?
Right.
Yeah. No. And I'm not paying $50 to find out I'm wrong or right.
I get that.
There's just too many old games out there that were great and people still play. And okay, I'm not a member of the cool club. It's okay. I was never a member of the club to begin with.
All right. So Shadow&Son's deal is there are so many other games out there that do not punish you for having low stats at all. Like up until I'm glad he brought up Palladium, because I wasn't going to do it. Glad he brought up Palladium.
I love Palladium.
Right up until Rift's Ultimate, Palladium did not have a mechanic for giving you minuses for low stat. You could have a 3 in all of your stats. You know what minus you get? 0. You don't get a bonus until 16, but you don't get any minuses ever. A 3 is the same as a 15. Exactly the same, functionally the same. The only thing that's different is the specific stat trait, like carrying capacity, or some kind of saving throw, stuff like speed for running. If you have a 3 speed, well, you don't run. You kind of like crawling. Fall forward and your feet catches yourself, but you can still move. But that's it. That's literally it. And there's a whole bunch of games that are the same way. There's no minuses for low stats. There's dozens of games out there. Play some of those. Outstanding. Get them used to low stats. And the other thing is I saw in chat Arnman actually put up there, if you don't have at least 2 abilities of 15 plus, roll another character. If you actually said that to my face as a player at my table, I think my hand would just fly. I don't know. I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't want to smack you as a bitch slap. I think it would just happen. And then I might be in a fight now. I don't know. It was an accident. I didn't mean it. It was lizard brain. Why do you need 2 stats above 15? You don't need that. It's nice to have. Lucky bastard if you do. But that's still only a +1. There's no difference between 15 and 14 in most games.
And you're only talking 5% on a 20-sided die.
I know. And then, if you have a 13, you just have a no plus at this point. Okay. You're only off by 1. It's not making or breaking any game. The difference between 13 and 15 is so negligible, especially in the long run of level 1 to 20, it doesn't matter. But players, when they're rolling up their characters, they think it matters. No, okay, no. That's Max, and I do not approve of this message. I do not approve of this message. That son of a bitch cheats the other way. If you legit roll 2 18s, he'll say, no, you can't have that. Fuck you, I rolled it. No, you can't have that. Fuck you, I rolled it. He won't let you play. Fuck
yeah,
it.
I actually checked this out. I'm playing in Bruce's Pathfinder game. I actually rolled 3 18s, but I video recorded it while I was doing it. And he's like, whatever, not a problem. So good on you, Bruce.
So, speaking of Bruce,
I've got a video, Shadow, of my dice on camera rolling 3 20s.
Okay.
So you'll have that 1 in 4,000 shot.
Nope.
I'm not sure who that aims for.
I think that's the response back to Heathendog from Legion of Myth, because he rolled 2 legitimate 18s, and Legion of Myth is like, dude, we're playing Dragonlance. You turn into a god. You're out of the campaign. Roll up another character.
No, you don't turn into a god just because you have 2 18s. If you're a human being, 18 is the maximum potential for a human. You're not godly.
Humanity.
You're not godly. And with the whole max thing, it's like he's cheating against you at this point. You rolled by the rules, legitimately 3d6 down the line. You got 2 18s. Lucky you. No, Max says you're too lucky. He's asking you to leave the casino. It's a dick move. It's a big dick move. Now, also, Devil's Advocate, Ryan Burton says, if it's so negligible, why does it matter to you guys? Let the players play. No, you know what? That is a legitimate statement. Mm-hmm. It is a legitimate statement. And on the surface, I agree. There's no functional difference between levels 1 and 20 between a 13 stat and a 15 stat. I get it. The problem is if the player believes he needs that 15, just like what Arn said earlier, if he didn't have 2 15s, he's not playing that character. That's backward think. That's wrong think. You're actually hurting yourself thinking like that.
You're hurting your table.
Yeah, and then the other side of the coin is Max's side. Whereas, no, your stats are too high. You can't play that character. It's just as wrong as my stats are too low. I can't play that character. Just as wrong. Don't do either of them. And you'll have a better time.
Yeah, you give your players an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah, rules DM says they are, not what's in the book. No, that is also Max is really throwing out the losses today. He really is. There is a basic framework for every role-playing game in the system. It's in the book, so everyone is on the same page. If you change it too much, you're playing a different game and no one's playing with you, because everyone's playing D&D, but you are playing a different game. You're playing Marvel superheroes now because you've changed it so much it doesn't resemble the system anymore. You can homebrew yourself into oblivion.
Okay, either I homebrew or I buy 5e. So get me my Trapper Keeper, and I'm going to start writing.
I mean, that's what I've done for ICRPG. I've kind of homebrewed my own stuff. So
there you go.
Am I still playing ICRPG? Not really. Same core, just different mechanics. So, Bruce, how do you what limits do you set in place for your characters?
I'm a dick, and I say core rulebook only.
Oh, okay.
We're playing Pathfinder. Bruce, there's 20 hardcovers on your shelf from Paizo, not including the third parties. What do you mean I only get to choose from the core rulebook? You have 6 races and 11 classes, and all the options that are in there, create your character with it. I think that's pretty reasonable. There's a lot of options there. And as you go from there, I open things up, but I don't like letting players start out with like ultimate combat, ultimate magic. Here's the APG. Oh, do you need some levels of swashbuckler? Let's just add some ACG in there for you because I need you to have training wheels. No, if you're gonna get used to my game, I'm gonna put you in a padded suit, and you're gonna be able to have the core rulebook, and you're gonna learn how my table operates. Because it's not just me. My players are mostly really good about the rulings I have at the table, and they know the game I'm trying to run. They know the type of theme I'm trying to have. And when you have limits in place to where you don't get all the options at first, you don't even get the archetypes from the APG. You have to earn those. You have to go find mentors. And if you don't go out and try to find those people, you're just whatever class you picked or whatever class you discovered. That's it. No archetype for you. No alternate class abilities for you.
Yep. And ever since role-playing games moved away from setting based, like Ravenloft, Dragonlance, Spelljammer, all that stuff, Dark Sun, stuff like that. And went to general everything all the time. The only way to make the game your own is to limit the options of the player. That you get the core book and this swashbuckler book. You get the core book and this high fantasy book. You get the core book and the sci-fi and the sci-fi supplement. You get those, or you in Bruce's turn, you just get the core book. And this will limit the scope of your character, and it will give the gameplay more direction because there's less places you can branch off to. You'll have to go generally forward. So it's a lot easier for the game master if you limit the books now, because if you open up everything that 5e has to offer, or Pathfinder or Traveler has to offer, everything they have to offer, you by the time you're done with character generation, you're going to have characters that don't fit together, let alone in the same world. It's going to be crazy.
Well, the thing is that by limiting those things, or by saying if you want to learn this style, you have to role play. And therefore, I'm not trying to put an emphasis on the hack and slash. I'm trying to put an emphasis on everything, like your exploration, your downtime, time where you actually spend at an event doing combat-related activities. But then, after you've achieved your mission goal or your goal, I want you to go back to town or talk to people. Maybe you should go talk to a bard or talk to a sage. Or interact with the world around you.
Yeah. All those hireling NPCs, throw them a shilling. See what happens.
Yeah.
Buy him a beer. He'll start yapping. He'll start yapping, and you'll learn some shit. But yeah, okay. So, moving on from that. The next question I want to do is, what game do you think is best, in your experience, is the best way to break a player of the I can't have suboptimal stats mindset? Think about it.
Easy answer.
Bruce says it's easy answer. I don't think it's that easy, but let's see. He could have,
Traveler, your stats are a 2d6 instead of 3d6 to begin with. So
sure.
You can have a really crap by rolling 2 1s, okay? But the difference in between isn't as great. It seems like, okay, I got a 2 out of an average of 8. Okay, so I'm not as feeble as you would with a 3 in an 8, 3 to 18 situation.
Sure.
And it's life path system. Have you ever played it, Ethan?
I've never played it, but I've read the book and I'm
Okay.
aware of a lot of life path systems, and they do really in my experience they really give a character surprise buffs if you go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can go as because if you stay too long in a career path and you muster out and you're 68 years old, well, shit, a whole bunch of your stats are like 3s anyways. Okay. Yep. Because of old age. But if you go the right way, you get lucky here and there, some of your stats are going to go up, and it's not so much based on your stats as it's a base of your stats and your skill combined to create the target number, and boom, there you go. You're not worrying so much about your stat. You're worrying more about what you know.
Right. As long as
skill.
you're playing a game that when you age, say your physical stats go down, but your mental stats go up, then there is a benefit to playing a very old character. Second edition D&D, first and second edition D&D had that.
Yep.
Every race had an age range.
Exactly.
Child, young adult,
middle-aged and venerable.
Middle-aged, and then old, and then very old, and ancient.
Terrible.
And when you got to middle-aged, you lost a physical stat, but you gained a mental stat. When you got to old, you lost another physical stat, but gained another mental stat. When you got to, and it kept going. When you got to ancient, you were like -4 physical stats, but +4 mental stats. It was great. There was benefit in getting older. Now, if you're a fighter, you got to learn to, be more of the general now.
Like
if you're
the real world.
Yeah, exactly. There's benefit to a game system that has that. And what Shadow&Son said, having generally, lower stats in that game, rolling 2d6 instead of 3d6, the low stat doesn't seem to hurt as much because numbers are lower generally. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I get that.
And it's a great game.
Yeah, that's doable.
World of Darkness.
Scott Clark says World of Darkness. World of Darkness is a point-based system. And that was actually going to be my not World of Darkness specifically, but point-based system games in general. You can take all of the responsibility of the stats off of your shoulders and put them on the player. These how many points you have according to the book. Build the stats however you like. That way, as long as they play by the rules and use only this amount of points, they can't have more than 2 exceptional stats without having at least 2 bad stats that'll give you a minus, because that's the way point-based systems are made. They're made so you can have, all of your stats be around average, or you can have 1 or 2 high, but you're going to have 1 or 2 low. So you have the player choose. And if they make the choice, which you forced on them by doing it point-based, they're more likely to swallow it. And that can get them used to playing characters with low stats, making them give themselves low stats. They have no one to blame but themselves, so they'll stop bitching about it and just work the problem.
And be a little more conservative in both directions.
Exactly.
I haven't played much of it, but I would say Powered by the Apocalypse game engines can kind of break people of the power gaming habits because it's not about what you can roll and the stats you can roll. It's about how well you can role play.
Oh, okay. All right. So your actual role play affects the system.
Yeah, and well, it depends on the specific flavor of Powered by the Apocalypse. Like, I'm hopefully in the near future I'll be getting the Avatar Legends role playing game, which is run off the Powered by the Apocalypse game engine, and it's all about what you can do on your turn, which are maneuvers or moves that kind of determine how the story or how the encounters go. And it's more of a cooperative storytelling game than it is a let's get into combat and roll initiative game. So I would say depending on the flavor of Powered by the Apocalypse, like you could break the power gamers in that way, because it's more focused on what does your character do, not what does your character or what does the player roll.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Bruce, what about you? Do you think what is your favorite system to try and break players of low stat bad thinking?
I want to break out expert and basic box sets and not even worry about things like skills or stuff like that. You were going to probably discuss more than anything else what's going on during a game, not be involved with combat. You've got to explain to me how you're looking at this potentially trapped chest or set of chests. You're going to have to show me which one of these that you're going to take a look at first, because this is what you see. And the more you discuss things, the more I'm going to probably allow you to not have to worry about a die roll. And when a die roll pops up, if you're a smart player, you're going to get a couple bonuses. Otherwise, if somebody's just like, I'm going to check for traps. Okay. You're not a fighter or you're not a thief, so roll me a 1 on a D6 and you can find it. Okay. And that's it. That's all you get. But if somebody's being smart about it, like, are there any pressure plates that I can see? If I push my face to the floor and I look at the wood grain, do I see any raised areas of the floor? Are there any pressure plates around this? Are there any slots in the floor to where I can see, like, maybe a blade would come out and hack my toes off? And that sort of thing. And I think the game that you want to play relies very, very little on rules. And even if your game relies on rolls, you don't do that. You have a back and forth.
Right.
And
so your idea your idea is play a game that is less burdened with skill checks and rolls in general. That way it forces the player to tactically think about the situation.
I don't even want to say tactically think, because tactically says, here's a battle mat. It's now a video game. Fuck off.
Okay.
Here's the miniature. Enough. Here's the miniature. Look at the miniature. This is what you're looking at. This is what you are looking at. Not your character. You're looking at it. And I'm going to go into Shauner mode. Hi, Shauner. I know you blocked me, fucker. But I'm going to say that I need you to look at this. And I need you to tell me what you're going to do. And please do it in first person.
Okay. All right. Force role play.
Yeah, I actually think that would be the best option, because as much as I like World of Darkness, or as much as I like point buy systems, it doesn't matter what game I'm running or playing. Is my DM interacting with us to where this world actually could feel alive? Or, like, at least at the very bare minimum, like, my character is a integral to the plot character in this mini episode or mini series of episodes or small campaign we're doing. I need them at the table to actually forget about their bills, forget about the fact that you're having to pay an extra $2 a gallon for fuel. Sorry, kids. I need you to role play. So get in the boots of your thief, get in the sandals of your sorcerer. And don't worry about rules, bonuses, optimal lighting conditions. No. Just adopt this character for 5 or 8 hours. Make it you.
Okay. Some of this chat,
So
Jade, is disturbing. It is absolutely disturbing. Umbry is freaking me out. Umbry's freaking me out. Scroll back a little bit. She says for DCC, OSE, and Lamentations, the sum of all 6 characters' inherent modifiers must add up to a total of at least +1. Okay, I think she means average.
I think that's supposed to be average.
Yeah, I think like, okay, these are all the minuses you have, these are all the pluses you have, and now you have a net +1. Well, guess what? What you did there, Umbry, was you just took individual min-maxing and you just average min-maxing. That's all you're doing now. They're average above average. That's what you just did. You made them averagely above average. And then if they don't, you give a free 14. What the flying what? You gonna pay their water bill too? You gonna go shopping for them? You know, you gonna wipe their little tushy?
Well, I think part of that has to do with maybe the style of game they're playing. Maybe they're playing or running an epic powers game where they're going to be facing things that are 2, 3, or 4 challenge ratings above the party level at all times. I've been in those games where the average challenge was between 4 to 8 levels above the party level.
I don't understand that, because that's just a bad DM. That is a bad game master.
So everyone at the table was a power gamer. Everyone at the table would do things on purpose to break or bend the rules enough to make their character so absurd that anything that was normal, like a normal challenge, would be a walk in the park. Everything.
Okay. As a game master, if you allow your players to do that, you are the fucking problem. You allowed those kids to run rampant in the store. They're breaking shit, and everyone in that store is wondering why their mom isn't smacking the shit out of them.
Oh, not average. That's
what's going on. And then to try and fix the problem, you double down on stupid and increase the challenge rating by +4. Well, that'll fix it. No, it doesn't fix their minds. It doesn't fix how they think. You're only patching the problem for now. But every other game master after you is going to suffer for what you did just then. Because just like small children, because players are the same as small children. Just like small children,
not wrong.
Once you give them something, you don't ever dare try and take it away. They'll cry. They will get on the floor and roll around, hold their breath, do all the things that little kids do because you're unfair. So you can't let that happen.
So I think that actually gets back to like additional like limitations of like the game master has to put limitations in place for the game that not only matches what they have in their head of where the story is, in theory going to go, unless you are a railroading game master, then where the game's going and you're going to limit options to push that direction. And that is a method of playing. Railroading is a method of playing the game. It's how modules are written. They're meant to be railroads. And some people really enjoy those. Teach their own. But in addition to limiting, like if you do limit like what the players have as options for their characters, do you like put this somewhere? Do you like print out like here's a list of everything you can and cannot do? Like how do you present that material to the players?
Well, I'll go first on that one, and that's sure. Really easy. Max and I actually agree on this one. Characters are made in day 0 at the table, everyone at the same time. Everything's in full view. and you as the game master are supervising everyone's character generation as it happens. So as it happens, you can say, okay, these are the choices you have for classes. These are the choices you have for races. Everyone choose. Well, what about this? What about this? Is it part of the things I just told you? No, then no. But why not? Because no. Because it doesn't exist on this planet. There are no orcs on this planet, so you can't play a half orc. There are no orcs on this planet. There are humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, and Asmar for some reason. Those are your 5 races you get to choose from. There's nothing else on this planet, so you can't be anything else. That's the reason why. If you want to play another race, then you're playing a different game than we're playing. You'll have to sit at a different table. So if you are there at character generation, you can make sure everyone's on the same page and everyone understands, moving forward, how this is going to be. These are your classes. These are your races. And I don't believe in limiting skills because usually classes do that themselves. So, whatever. But if you don't play a game that has classes and it's skill based rather than class based, then you have them state what their niche is, what their specialty is. So everyone at the table knows. Everyone knows that, hey, I am the tracker. I'm getting skills that make me good at tracking and hiding and foraging and all that stuff. Or I'm a detective. I'm an urban tracker. Basically, a detective is an urban and suburban tracker. So I have skills that do that. Okay. Well, then my character is going to do this. And then my character is going to do that. So everyone, if they're making their character at the table, number one, everyone knows your guidelines because they're all hearing at the same time. You can answer all questions at the same time. And they're all making characters together. There should not be a blatant problem like all of them fighters or all of them wizards or all of them thieves. There shouldn't be that problem because as it's happening, they realize, whoa, we don't have a fighter. Whoa, we don't have a thief. Whoa. Feelings. Let's do that. And it'll fix themselves. The players will fix themselves. So yeah, that's my answer.
You could go adventuring with a party of nothing but clerics. Just make sure they're called the Amen.
You could, but I wouldn't call that desirable. Let's say that because there is a lot you're leaving on the table.
Listen, I would say that with the campaign I run, if I had a nothing but cleric party, I would feel like, okay, you guys are actually ready for an epic quest. Sorry, go ahead, Shadow.
I was just mulling about in the old days, clerics were actually kind of badass fighters.
Yeah.
In comparison to thieves and magic users, which were the other half of the 4 food groups. So, a party of all clerics wouldn't suck except for the fact that who's going to lead the group.
Yeah, fair enough. That they all want to be the leader because they all think God is great and God has chosen me and I'm the arrogance, man.
Right, and some dumbass dungeon master would be like, oh yeah, and you all worship different gods.
Well, there's the rub. There, you actually hit the problem with having all clerics in the group. If they're not of the same religion, oh my God. Oh, it's gonna be a crusade every day, an inter-party jihad. It's gonna be crazy. Party cohesion doesn't exist. It's all just bloodletting and mace wielding. That's all it is.
So don't do that, folks.
No, don't do that.
I would say that a all cleric campaign in the world I run would be great because there's actually part of the campaign world that had a crusade, and the 3 old gods of lawful good got together. That's the entire basis for the Slumbering Tsar saga. They failed. Orcus won. And one of the gods got like completely forgotten, erased from history. It's part of the fucking quest.
Okay.
So I mean, I know you're like going, that's a lot of healing on the table. I'm thinking to myself, I will have undead for days go after this party.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of mace bashing. So wait. Let's get back to the actual question.
Yeah. So the question was more of like, if you are going to set limitations,
Right.
how do you present that material to the players? Like,
Okay,
do you,
and my answer was during character creation, everyone is together during character creation, so everyone is on the same page. They're getting all the information at the same time. They can all ask me questions at the same time and get real-time answers that everyone can hear. And after that, everyone should know where everyone's headspace is. Everyone is going to know the basic trajectory of my campaign. Everyone is going to know the basic build of everyone's character. Not all the nuances, they have some secrets and whatnot, some dark secrets or whatever. But he's a fighter, he's a cleric, okay, and I'm a bard. I hate myself, but hey, it's the way it is. So yeah, that's how I do it. Character generation and world introduction all in day 0, and everyone's on the same page.
And if you can't be all together for that, like open a Guilded or Discord server and have a channel specifically for people to log what they're doing, what they're creating, bounce off each other.
In my experience, that's too much lag time. It's too much lag time. The best way to do it is hey, you got a Discord, right? You can jump into a chat in Discord and do it there.
Yeah, you're going to want to do that.
Yeah, you're going to want to do that. Because you and the players need to have immediate responses, immediate ability to ask questions, and then get immediate answers. Then it'll all work itself out. It will work itself out.
Yeah.
Shadow, what about you?
This is a toughie because I'm just getting ready to start a first level AD&D game with hopefully Max is going to be there and some other YouTuber personalities and what have you. I can't think of any. I'm good with if everybody at the party came at me and said, you know what, we all rolled all 18s, I can handle it. And I would just, in my mind, okay, well, the 18 is actually really more like a 14. They don't know it, but I'm just going to, that's how I'm going to run it. Okay. They don't know. They can add all their pluses and crap, but the monsters are just going to be bigger and badder. The challenges are going to be, tougher, etc. My limitations are usually more in the world and the setting itself. For example, with this campaign, they're going to be on a ship. Okay. So a lot of the stuff that they're going to want to, fall back on, you're on a ship, okay? There's no town. You better make do. You better be bringing your A game and thinking how you can jury rig this and that and make all these things work. Your actual stat numbers and stuff like that are really not going to be, what the focus is, except maybe in combat and maybe in later on down the road when they're trying to like build things. If they're trying to build, a catapult with a freaking, a couple of 2x4s and some,
some rope
random
and twine.
craft.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to make them convince me with the role playing for most of their actions. The numbers, they're not that important. I've been doing this for, 40 years. I can do it in my sleep. I probably do.
Okay. So make role play more important than the roles.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Bruce, what about you?
Repeat the question again. I apologize.
So when you set limitations for your players, how do you present it to them? Like, do they know ahead of time what the limitations are going to be?
Yeah.
Is it explained on day one?
I usually will have a document set up in my Discord or passed out through email where I can let them see the priors and particulars. If you want to join the game, here's what you can expect is going to be like. And that will whittle out probably out of 20, 25 people that were asking about a game, I'm down to 12. And then whenever it's time to roll up characters, 4 of them will be like, vaginal pain, gastrointestinal fortitude is low. I got to go. And so I get 8 players. Right now I'm running with 7. So I'm not doing too bad. And they're 10th level.
Okay, so writing it down, black and white, everyone knows where you stand from the get-go. And these are hard and fast. These are set in stone. These are Moses' tablets.
Heathendog. I've been running this same campaign for basically 7 years. 3 of my players have been in this table.
Okay, so you got this streamlined. You have this zero friction, campaign setting and way of doing things. Tried and true.
Yeah.
Okay. For experienced game masters, that is a great way to go. Go back to your roots. Go back to where your game, your game setting and mechanics are strong, and hit them with that. Okay. Now, Bruce has the Moses tablets. I have the whole, in-person type thing. Now that makes it a little malleable, because if everyone at the table really throws up a fit about one thing and they have some basis, they have some, what I think is a logical argument, I might relent a little bit, but Bruce has black and white tablets. Thou shalt do and thou shalt not, and your golden calf can suck it. He's got that, and Shadow&Son says like, hey man, this'll all be done in role play. You can convince me on the fly. If you can do that, the world's your oyster, brother. You got it. So those are 3 distinct styles of handling initial gameplay stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is that you want to have a world that you want to have them be able to have a world that they've got options in. So like, not if you say I want to play human, it's just one variety of human. You only get Orientals or you only get Spaniards. No, give them a few options with some mechanical benefits here and there. No. If you want to, split your dwarves. Only be an Inigo Montoya. Say again.
You can only be an Inigo Montoya. I kill your father. Prepare to die.
Could you imagine a party of that?
Yes. Wait, they killed all your fathers?
I don't want to.
You got a club? Do you have jackets? All right. I'm sorry.
No, see, so the reason I was mostly asking this question was to generate thought for other people who might be watching, like to get ideas of like what they can do to prepare, limitations for their own table. I will severely look at like what it is I'm running. Like if I'm running a module set, I'll look at every part of the module and pull every option, like character option that's in the module set. I do hours of prep for this. And I'm like, okay, I've cataloged everything that this module set has. And here are literally all of the options available in this module set. This is the only stuff that's going to be available with a few minor caveats. And I put all of that into a PDF document and email it to my players. Or put it up on my Google Drive as an option, so everyone knows this is the catalog of stuff to pick from.
Okay, so you're going more the Bruce way, where you have the Moses tablets. You throw it out there,
yes,
and this is the will of God. This is how it's done. As long as you're within this framework, you're A-okay.
Yep. And honestly, and then I let them discuss either on Discord, Facebook, or wherever, amongst themselves as players, like, well, what are you going to build? Well, what are you going to build? And, let them have that discourse away from the table. So when they come to the table to play, they have their characters done. I don't have, we don't have to worry about working up characters. My session 0 is, here are my expectations as a game master. Here's what I'm expecting out of you as the players, and let's have a good game. And, when they voice their concerns about, well, I'm really not okay with this limitation, then we can hash it out then and there. Like, well, here's why the limitation exists. Explain to me a reason why it shouldn't.
Because it makes me feel things.
Well, I mean, I had one player. I said no Oriental classes, Oriental races, or anything like that in Wrath of the Righteous because it was taking place in a region of the world that it is not very easily accessed.
Like
so
Portugal.
the one player is like, well, I want to play a Kitsune. I said no Oriental races or classes. Why are you playing a Kitsune? Why do you want this? And then they gave me a backstory for the character. I'm like, okay, I'll read through it, and if I agree with it, I'll say yes. If I don't, I'm going to say make a new character. I agreed with their design, and well, we moved forward.
So it's the whole Kevin Costner Robin Hood. You have a black eye because he was a slave that you freed, and he is a life debt to you type thing.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a scenario where he gave me this character's backstory of this Kitsune who washed up on shore on the island or the land of Galarian, and it was his character's ancestor, and since then so on and so forth ad nauseum. I'm like, okay, I'll allow it, but that is the only clan and everyone knows of that clan. Like, you are known.
Okay.
And the person's like, oh, okay. What kind of fame does that come with? You mean infamy? Because they're Kitsune? He's like, oh no. I'm like, yeah, you chose this. I'm gonna punish you with it. So, and sometimes the player or the limitations you put on players shouldn't necessarily be rewarding. Like, sometimes when you put these limitations out there, like, yeah, you can only pick these classes and here's why, and they go, well, I'm going to pick something that's not on your list, and you're like, okay, you gave me a good reason, I'm going to allow it, but here's the caveat to me allowing it. And you lay out because you picked this is the result. Like, you picked Tiefling. Okay, you're a Tiefling. That's fine. They're in the area. They're not typically well thought of. But because you picked Tiefling, no one trusts you. Everyone is racist towards you because you are a Tiefling. And because you are of the demon race. They're going to treat you differently for that reason.
The internet hates you right now.
I don't really care.
Yay! I was hoping that was the answer.
Because in the story of Wrath of the Righteous, it is a holy war against a demon incursion.
Sure.
So anyone playing Tiefling is already starting at a disadvantage.
You're a half demon.
Wouldn't they already be
Yeah,
dead?
because they are half fiend.
Well,
how would they even be alive?
Hang on.
Yeah.
When they were young, it is possible that it was a baby. It wasn't his fault. Mommy was raped by a demon. This happens. Should we kill the baby?
No, we kill the baby and the mom because she's probably a whore.
Well, no. She was raped. Don't blame the victim here. Or graped, because this is the internet. Graped. She was graped. And she had this baby as a result. Is it the baby's fault? No. Is it the mother's fault? No. Should we kill the baby anyway? Probably, yeah. Sure. But some priest somewhere said, no, I can raise him in the church and he'll be good. And there's always going to be something like that.
That's just they fucking with you.
I know. In real medieval times, no, it was burn him as a witch and then ask questions later. That's how it worked.
So,
but yeah.
And I will play up some of those tropes based on what the characters pick. So my limitations aren't so much you have to play within these lines and only these lines. No, I'll let you deviate from the lines, but there are reasons why I put the lines in place. And if you decide to purposely build outside of those lines, you will pay those consequences. Every action has a consequence, is kind of my mantra for my games. Mm-hmm. If you choose to do something and it has potential negative repercussions, and you succeed, but not with a great enough margin to negate those consequences, you're going to pay for those consequences. You are going to receive them. And if, at character creation, you decided to break away from the lines and go build something that I said, hey, that's really not a great option, and here's why. And you decide, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. Well, okay, then you are going to suffer those consequences.
Okay.
It
chose it.
Just reminds me of Total Party Skills video this morning about running good demons and I'm just like, you can go check out my comment there. You think you're going to get away with that? You think heaven and hell are both going to just basically team up to exterminate you? The first time you go to sleep will be the last time you go to sleep.
Nice.
So, all right. I'm trying to remember where I was in my questions here.
What, you don't have them written down?
He does. He's looking.
I have them written down, but we kind of moved around and jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, we do that. Sorry.
Here. No, that's fine. So now this is mostly about trying to convince your players to not just the pros and cons of getting your players to play less than optimal characters, but also convincing them that having a less than optimal character is not necessarily a bad thing. So when your players are not very receptive or completely rejecting of the idea of less than optimal characters, how do you overcome this? Like, what concessions or options or things do you make with these players to have them still at the table playing the game, but not with what they originally were wanting to do?
Okay, well, what they originally wanted and what they rolled happened to be two different things. Okay, that's life. That happens. Now, what I would do to my peers is throw out lots of shame. Shame on you for abandoning your character just because he has a low stat. Shame, 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 shame. And then they would change their ways because, they understand what shame is. That's important. But players who are less than 30 years old do not have a fully functional shame gland. So you can't actually shame them into doing that. So what I would have to do is like, okay, you want to re-roll your character because you have a 5? That's fine. Absolutely fine. All good. Reroll all your stats, -1. All of them get a -1. You want to reroll again? Fine.
Oh.
All your stats.
Mulligan, but it's the mulligan rules.
It's a mulligan. Exactly. Every time you reroll, you can reroll all you want until you get to minus, 18 or 17, 16, whatever, but if you get below 3, so it'll be minus 16. No, 15. Yeah. Till you get to minus 15, then it's not possible. It's not possible if you roll 3. So every time you re-roll, it's a 3, it's a whatever it is, -1. 3d6, 46, drop the 1, or 30d6 minus 12 dice. Arrange them in all you want, and then -1 from all of them. -1 from all stats.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah. Every time you re-roll, add a -1.
I like it. It's got a little bit of a sadistic streak to it.
Exactly. But if you say that, you should see the color just drop out of the faces of the player. Oh my God. Just turn gray, ashen, like, what? How could you do that?
Easily.
Well, God doesn't like mulligans, man. That's it. Your soul is degrading every time you mulligan. You
see at my table in the hardcover rules I have, or in my unit, my rules compendium, I have written in what's called the abortion rule.
Uh-oh.
You can re-roll your character stats as much as you want, but those dead characters that you flush down the toilet are going to come back as some nasty undead.
Wow, that got dark, man. Think you could call it something else? The visuals are freaking weird on that.
I want to fucking rip my players apart when they're like,
I don't have 2 15s at my table.
I'm looking at you, Iron Man. I'm just using you as an example. You're not one of my players, but somebody that says, I got to have at least 3 14s. I can't have a single negative stat. All right, go on ahead.
Wow.
Now, what about you there, Shadow? Like,
you know what?
How do you convince them?
I'm going to bring some sunshine into this conversation.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, check this out. Princess Bride. You got 3 of the world's greatest fighters. Okay? Indigo, Man in Black, Fezzik, right?
Sure.
They all have a crappy stat or two. Okay. Indigo's got a low wisdom. He's an alcoholic. You know, he doesn't, he admits he doesn't have a high intellect. Play into those. I would encourage them to see the wonder that character could actually bring to the table with, oh my God, ham it up though. Okay. Because you're going to have to make it over that little speed bump of their preconceived notion of, I have to be, all double digits, etc. Go into it and help them out, maybe thinking of how you would play that character if it was your character, and it's got like some crappy stat. Well, you just play into it. Cyrano had a horrible comeliness, but look at all his other great stats. Look, he had high intelligence. He was a good swordsman. All these other things, but you look at him and you're just like, oh Jesus Christ, right? Things like that, and just help them, find a way to see that character is actually more unique and more interesting because of the flaw. It's just like we always say about women. It's those little imperfections that keep us, attracted to these women. Because if they're a perfect 10, something up here ain't right. So when you find those little imperfections, you're like, that's why you're single. Okay, you're hot as hell, but you got this going on.
Okay, you got weird again. I mean, you didn't get abortion weird on that one, to your credit, but you got weird.
I do that.
Okay. So your whole idea is tell them to turn into the skid. Yep. you got a 5 intelligence, lean on that. Make it fun. You can make it fun. Make it fun.
And think of all the great characters in all sorts of media, whether it be comic books or movies or whatever, where the interesting characters weren't perfect. They had that imperfection that made them actually more interesting than all their other, cool stats.
Right. Well, I will go further with your Princess Bride example. I will go further with that. I will say Fezzik, low IQ, low wisdom, very high strength, very high con, very, very high charisma, just because he was fun to be around and all that stuff.
The sweetheart.
The Spaniard in Indigo, he had high dex.
Indigo.
Sorry. High dex, very, very high dex, and very, very skilled in one aspect, but he had pretty low intelligence, pretty low charisma, because he wasn't very good at talking to people. He really wasn't. Little low wisdom. He had a bunch of stats on the low side, but he just leaned into his strengths and leaned into the rest of the party for his weaknesses. And I would argue that Wesley had all basically average stats, but he spent 5 years getting skills, training in skills. He was better than everyone because he worked for 5 years on skills and knowledge. He was better because he was higher level. That's exactly what happened. Everyone around him was level 5.
He went out adventuring.
Yeah,
he went out adventuring.
Yeah, he was adventuring this entire time. The whole 5 years, he was learning every day. He was boarding and pillaging, for at least 3 years of that, right? And for the first 2 years, he was learning trades after trades. He was learning to fight. He was learning tactics. He was learning all this stuff. He was constantly gaining experience, constantly gaining levels. So he had all average stats, maybe a couple little above average, but I don't think any need to give him any bonuses because he's higher level and he's skilled.
Yeah, I think with Wesley though, you'd have to begrudgingly give him a little bit higher comeliness and physical beauty.
Okay. Fair enough. Charisma. He has female privilege. Okay. He's hot. Got it. Okay. That's fine.
Well, I think it was the charisma. I think the charisma was also what was keeping him from getting killed by the Dread Pirate Roberts every day.
Yes. Fair enough. He was a beautiful kid. He was pretty. He was articulate. Dread Pirate Roberts got a little soft spot. He's been at sea a
Let's
while.
hope that's all it
Wesley's
was.
looking good. I don't know what happened,
What-
but yeah, kept him alive. Fine, whatever.
Well,
Whatever. Okay,
what
fair
happens on the ship stays on the ship.
Exactly. Happens on the ship, stays on the ship. At least you're not a manatee. Fine, whatever. That's fine. But after that, he has a 16 charisma. Fine. But I will give him flat stats 10, 8 to 12 everywhere else. Because after that, it's all experience and learning the right skills. And he had the proper mentor to do that in Dread Pirate Roberts.
See, I would say that you're on the right path, but if we went to take this into a first edition AD&D game, I would say Dread Pirate Roberts was your name level fighter, a reasonably leveled thief, and he was into the bards.
He was into the bards, as in that's his
levels.
Oh, okay.
He was
all right.
He had started doing the first edition prestige class.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. Well, if you want to make it, 3.5, whatever, then base fighter, prestige class, swashbuckler, whatever, a smattering here, a smattering there. But that made him the best pirate possible, and the best pirate possible thinks strategically, thinks about his men, has to run an entire ship, has to run a battle, has to fence goods, has to find safe ports, has to read people immediately or they get boned and no one eats. So he has to attain so many skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes him an all-around awesome character, but you only get that through experience and levels. Taking the right classes, taking the right prestige classes, and Dread Pirate Roberts was a one-stop shop for everything you need to know to be a badass. And he mentored under the baddest mofo down around this town, and it's not a surprise that he was a badass at the other end of that tunnel.
Enough to take his place without having to kill him.
There you go. Enough so Dread Pirate Roberts retired. Nope, the ship's going to be great in your hands. I've done my job. I'm now going to go and make 10%. Have fun.
So for me, when I find that, back onto topic, when I find my players are not receptive to limitations, I think it's a conversation that has to be had with those players. Try to get a sense of, or at least I will try to get a sense of what they are trying to play. Like what is it that they think they want to play in this game? Full knowledge of what the campaign's going to entail, because I give a blurb about like what the campaign is and where it's heading. Like I don't give them all the cards. I just play like, the beginning card and like this is the direction of the game. So they can make, informed choices.
Sure.
But when they decide to make something that's completely outside of those limitations, and they're like, that's just not the character I want to play. I don't want to play those kind of characters. This is the character I want to play. I'll have the honest conversation with them. Like, okay, here's the reason why this isn't going to work. I'll allow it, but you are going to struggle the entire time, and it is not going to be fun. So I think being upfront and honest with your players about the type of game that you are running, the story you have in mind, like not all of the story, just like the most pertinent points that you're wanting to hit, and being just very honest with them is like, here's why this does not work. You want to play a pirate, but the city that you're starting is located nowhere near the ocean. 2, I don't plan on going to the ocean like ever. Like it's an inland game. You're in a landlocked country. Like I don't even know how a pirate got here.
Yeah, you're in the center of a continent. What the hell?
Right. Yeah. It's like you might be a river pirate. Oh, okay. A river pirate's slightly different than an ocean faring pirate. Sure. But it's a different flavor of pirate. I can allow a river pirate or a river bandit, but not a high seas swashbuckling adventurer. Like that's just not how, the the game or the area you're starting in or even going to be playing in is allowed for.
Yeah, a lot of the players don't understand that if you really look at what's happening when you're playing a character, you are stepping into the mind and body of someone who already lives there. If there's no one that you can envision who already lives there, there's no body for you to step into.
Right. Like, for example, somebody asked me when I was running Wrath of the Righteous if they could play a gunslinger. And I said no. Yeah, and here's why. One, guns have not made it the 2,000 miles away from where they were developed to this point yet, because they were just developed within the last 5 years. They just haven't traveled those 2,000 miles across the land to get to this location.
Sure.
Two, where are you going to find the materials necessary to make gunpowder? Because you're going to have to make your own bullets. You will have to do that. Three, what material are you going to be making the bullets out of? Like, you're going to have to cast your own rounds.
Yeah.
So
it's just not, you're not logistically feasible.
Right. It's and I'm going to have to impose at least a minimum of 30% markup on all firearm related material in the area at minimum. And you will have to try to haggle it down to at best 20%. Because it's just not available. And then when I gave them that information, they realized, oh, gunslinger is just not viable here. I'm like, no, it's really not. Yes, it's a powerful class, and yes, it can be a very fun class. I've played several, but it's just not viable for the area.
See, there's always a problem though. There's always a problem when you give players genuine choices. There's always the chance they still choose wrongly. And then you are punished for that, for allowing that gunslinger in, even though you put all of these caveats and addendums that made it shitty to play. They're like, nope, I'm stick to my guns because I'm a little bitch. And then they're going to play it anyway. And then you have to GM that. And it's torturous. You made yourself do work. I'd rather not give them the choice. No. There's no guns. There's no gunpowder. There's no brass.
Just tell them next game.
Yeah. Next game we'll do Wild West stuff. That's fine.
Or maybe when the game gets to that location, if it ever does, I'll let you swap out characters.
Or you could dual class into a gunslinger at that point when there's gunslingers around to teach you gunslinging. Okay, that's fine. But right now, no, man, no.
Yeah. Although I can imagine that as soon as the party gets to that area, the entire party wants to swap over to that. Because
okay, Scott,
I've had that too.
This is really funny. This is really funny, Scott, because this is where I always game the player. I make them think that they're making a genuine choice, but it's not. It's always a forced choice. They think they're making moves, but they're actually dancing in the palm of my hand. Whenever I'm the game master and you think I'm giving you a genuine choice, no. Every single choice you could possibly make that doesn't end in your death instantly is one that I already approve of. Any choice you make, I'm already for it. There is no choice that I think is wrong. So you don't really have a genuine choice. You have options that I approve of. That's all you get. You cannot go against me. I'm the world. I'm the universe. You can't go against the universe and expect to live. You can't.
Fucking Bruce.
It's not possible. So any choice you make in my world is a choice that I believe is viable, or you don't get to make it.
Heathen, are your players watching right now?
They could be, and they know this. I mean, Max has played in my games, and he's run through what everyone calls a railroad. But guess what? The rails are invisible, and the cars have no walls or ceiling. It feels sandboxy because all of my railroading is behind the scenes. Every choice you make, you're making the choices, but I don't give you options I don't approve of.
Well, we are at that 5-minute mark for the 2 hours. So I think this has been a fairly fruitful discussion. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
No,
I know I'm walking away with some good options and good ideas. So, Bruce, tell us about your channel and what you've got going this week.
Okay, I made my channel because I wanted to run Pathfinder on the web and show people that it's not that different from 3.5. And that was when it was created, right at the time where we were switching from the alpha/beta test to the hardcover. Ever since then, I've put out over 500, 600 videos, most of them based in the games, most of them around a table. And tomorrow night at my channel, Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division, you will find a couple of the people here. You'll find a couple of the people here. And we'll be discussing a part 2 of our segment on folklore. And this game that we play, no matter if it's the Rollmaster or if it's Mutant Chronicles or if it's D&D, folklore takes a big part of our games. And we're trying to unravel just how much of our games rely on shared stereotypes.
Okay.
Shadow&Son,
You got anything going on?
what
soon?
you got going this week?
Oh, you guys know the channel. We do 1 to 3 videos every day. My son and I, good, wholesome father and son, gaming and painting and crafting and reviews. And, it's always something, depending on the day of the week. We're trying to hit that big 500 subs by Christmas so I can give away this huge, can you see that? Mountain of miniatures.
For 500 subs?
Yep.
Man, you're not as bad as Max. He gives away too much shit, but that's a lot.
Oh, you know what? I'm getting stuff from sponsors and things like that who really like the channel, even though we're small, because of our stance on the father son, getting your kids to game, and bringing new people into the hobby and making the next generation of players better than other generations. None specific, but I'm sure where.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And we just have a lot of fun, and my son's a real smart kid. Heathen, I think you'd like him a lot. He's a good kid. Everybody likes him, except me. But I'm his dad, so.
Yeah, you ever look the same at a person when you change their diapers? It's never the same.
Yeah.
But
so I hope you guys, I enjoyed Heathen coming on. I really hope you'll come back, Heathen. We've talked before, but this was a lot of fun, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Thanks. Even though we're not always going to agree.
That's fair. That's fine. That's actually better.
Mm-hmm.
But this week on the Legion of Myth YouTube channel, youtube.com/Legion of Myth, we have what do you call it? Oh,
Video?
I'm blanking. I'm absolutely blanking. Why am I blanking? I actually prepared.
Kevin from Palladium,
yes.
and
yes,
I watch you guys.
Yeah,
You guys
Kevin Sambita and Sean Roberson. They're going to be on this weekend, and we're going to talk about generally the future of Palladium, and specifically, Palladium games, how they evolved, and the future Palladium, if and when Sean takes over the reins from Kevin. But that's bullshit to me. I don't care about that. What I care about are my scathing questions and commentary on why Savage Rifts should not exist. It is a cancer on the world. It should be burned. Every copy should be burned. In this instance, I think of Fahrenheit 451 as a guidebook, as a definite guide to solve a problem. The problem is Savage Rifts. I have 3 questions. At the end of my three questions, they will be crying, begging for my forgiveness. Max will have his legs will be weak. We'll have a million subscribers, and I will ascend to demigodhood. That's what's going to happen this Sunday. That is happening.
Awesome.
Definitely not miss that.
All right. Well, I am Jade of my tavern here in Jade's Tabletop Tavern. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this episode of Gatekeepers. If you want to join the discussion, or suggest topics for future episodes, consider joining our Discord. Links in the description. You will also find the links to everyone here on panel in the description as well. And with that, have a great night, everyone.